Hi folks, I'm Bruce Borton, director of the Madrigal Choir of Binghamton. We're here. The Madrigal Choir draws its membership from a wide range of folks of all kind of professional and musical backgrounds. We have people singing with us who are simply have music as an avocation, and but they've enjoyed it for a long time during their life from various things and various times when they had jobs in other places. We also have a number, we are able to benefit from a number of folks who are music professionals of various sorts, teachers, church musicians, performers of all sorts. And one of those performers is with me today, and that's John Shelhart, who moved to our area about in 2017, a few years ago, and has been singing with the Madrigal Choir ever since. John has an extensive background in professional singing situations of all sorts, and we're very happy to have him with us today. We thought we'd talk a little bit about John's musical experience. So John, tell us a little bit about your background, your career, some of the highlights perhaps of the career.
Sure. I started out, I came from the Midwest, Michigan. Music was always important in our family, and it was we went to a Lutheran church, so that was part of it as well. But so I had a lot of musical training, you know, with instruments and voice as a kid. So I decided I would major in music when I went to college, and my parents insisted, because they were paying for it, that I do music education. So I got an undergraduate degree in music education, and it was during that time that I learned my voice was probably one of the best things of my musical aptitude was my singing, and I enjoyed it so much. I did enjoy teaching and was pretty good at it, but I wanted to perform, so I went on to graduate school at the University of Illinois, which was a more performance-based program. They had a wonderful arts center with different theaters. They had great instructors. I worked with John Wussman, who was a really famous coach, accompanist, and equally a great teacher. So I got a great experience there. Was able to do lots of different roles that they had through their opera program. And then, like most people, I decided when I graduated, I went to New York City to make it as a singer, and it was really hard, and I ended up working in kitchens mostly to pay my way. But I kept working on my voice. I didn't have a lot of political stuff behind me, you know, like some singers have all of these awards and they study with famous people and they get promoted from a political side, and I didn't, and it was a real struggle. You know, I did auditions and I did okay, but it was a real struggle, you know, to get anywhere. So I ended up auditioning for the Metropolitan Opera chorus, and they wanted me, so I took that job.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah.
I remember John Wussman. It's interesting that you mentioned him because I never studied with John Wussman myself, but I heard him perform a couple of times. The one I remember the most was with Fischer Disco.
Ah, right, yeah.
And he was doing the Schubert Winterreise.
Wow.
And I saw that in Chicago when I was in college.
Yeah. All the great singers worked with him.
Yeah.
Pavarotti, I mean, all
really
of them did. Yeah.
He was an accompanist for Robert Shaw.
Right,
For a number
which
of years.
You had a lot of experience with that.
So I had some contact, you know, two degrees of contact with him through that experience with it. Do you have any favorite roles or, you know, kind of memorable musical experiences that stick with you?
There are so many, because the Met does so much repertoire. They do like 20-some productions a season. So some of the most interesting things were the sort of the avant-garde things. Moses and Aaron by Berg. That was crazy. the music and the staging. So that was always interesting to me. In the it was very, very difficult stuff. But then we would also do the standard things. And one of my favorites was Puccini's Turandot. The chorus, even though he didn't finish the entire opera, the chorus work in that is very. It's very emotional. It's very moving. It's very involved with the tragedies that's happening in the opera. So you can't help but feel that and be a real part of it when you're on stage. And I'll try to briefly mention, at one point I auditioned for solo work there, which was my big dream, and I was able to do some solo work. They hired me for 2 years, and my debut performance in that was a small role, a solo role in Rigoletto when I was Count Ceprano. So that was my big claim to fame, was being on stage doing that. Yeah, it was a real thrill.
Oh, absolutely, and then that facility, it must be just to walk on stage there has to be a memorable experience.
It is, and the funny thing I'm going to mention about that, as a chorister, we're rehearsing during the day and often on stage for some productions, and then at night we're performing others. So literally, I was on that stage as much as I was ever in my living room at home. So it became this just totally familiar. The physical space, it was interesting. So I felt very much at home there all the time, in that marvelous space. It was incredible.
Well, I know you retired from the Met a few years ago and moved to Pennsylvania. I'm wondering what brought you to Pennsylvania.
Well, actually, I bought my house in Pennsylvania when I took the chorus job. We get paid really well because in half of our salary was overtime, but we made a lot of money. And so sort of as I want to say a consolation prize, that's not really right. But anyway, I bought a vacation place in Pennsylvania, and then I ended up retiring there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I understand from you talking about it, it's a particularly interesting house that was put together at all different times.
Yeah, and it's very rural, and I'm always my personality is always in pieces, and I loved being in New York City, but while I was in New York, I always wanted to be out in the country, to garden and grow things, so I had the best and worst of both worlds, because it's hard to...
And you've got animals, too.
I do.
All sorts.
Yeah.
Some wanted and some not so wanted.
Some wanted and not so wanted, and I'm trying to bring that into control a little bit. But yes, I have chickens and geese, and I love all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you've talked a little bit about what instruments, what interests you have outside of music. Is there, you've been a professional chef at least at one time in your
Yes, I
life?
was. Yeah, that developed. Just working in restaurants and stuff. I got good at it. And I'm a good cook, and it developed that I was able to do that as well, and made fairly good money.
And now you enjoy the life of a gentleman farmer, right?
I do, a recluse with too many cats. It's sort of how I look at it. But the funny thing was, we were sort of overworked as choristers. We were compensated for it really, really well. And there's nothing like the thrill of being on that stage when everything's churning. I mean, it was incredible, but it was also hard. So while I was doing that, I was like, this is too much. I want to just be in the country. And so once I finally retired and was in the country, I became incredibly homesick for the stage again. But that's just the way things are.
Well, I know that you're not entirely retired. You're still doing stuff?
I am, and I found out when after a couple of years in retirement, I really, really missed it. And my real introduction into Binghamton was through you, auditioning for the Madrigal Choir. Yeah. And then that led to being a soloist at Trinity Church. And also, I was able to do some stuff with Tri-Cities Opera, which was a thrill. I did a little part in Butterfly, a small part in Tosca, and I love that. The Forum Theater is a wonderful theater to sing in.
Yeah, that's right. We all keep our fingers in it even after we officially retire.
So I'm busy now between church and the Madrigal Choir and other things. There's lots of opportunity, and I love it. I'm very grateful that's here. And Binghamton is kind of unique that way, I think.
Yeah, and we look forward to hearing you many more times, that's for sure.
Well, eventually it'll give out, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. In between. Well, folks, we've been talking to John Shelhart, And we hope you've enjoyed this little talk, and we'll look forward to seeing you again sometime in the future. We are looking forward to, right now, toward some activities around Thanksgiving time. It's now early November when we're doing this. And we're hoping to put together some semblance of our Lessons and Carols program, which we'll be doing hopefully Thanksgiving weekend. It'll be a virtual performance, of course, but we hope with some current readings and things like that. So be looking for it on our webpage, on our Facebook page, and through emails. So it's Bruce Borton with John Shelhart. Thanks, John.
Thank
for
you.
talking to me.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon, we hope.